Yeah, Juwan, if you don't mind, just general thoughts on the first Big Ten game.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's a very competitive game. It was a very competitive game from start to finish, and we played a very good team. Yeah, they have an interim coach, but they have a guy who's a head coach who's coached for many years in different programs. You can see how hard his team plays. You see how well they play, with his leadership. They competed from start to finish. Our guys did a phenomenal job of competing as well. I loved how when they made a run in the second half, I liked how we kept our mindset to a point where we just knew that the run was going to happen, stayed together, got the stops that we needed, got the rebounds that we needed, and then went on the other end and either made free throws or made winning plays.
Shane Warner.
Yeah, Coach, it really felt like that was a game of two halves. What changed in the second half that allowed Penn State to get back in the game, and how impressed were you with your team that they kept fighting even though they lost the lead pretty early on there in the second half?
Well, Penn State came out with a lot of energy and effort, which I was not surprised that they were going to come out with that type of energy and effort being down. But, like as you can see in this league and just in basketball in general, no lead is safe. When you have a team that competed, drove it to the basket, when the times when we wasn't there to contest their shots, they finished, or when they shot, balls from the outside, they had guys running in, they got offensive rebound after offensive rebound. That was really what got them back in the game. They were playing harder than us. And I told our guys at our timeout, this is going to be one of these grit and grind type games where we got to not allow them to be tougher than us and beat us to all the energy plays. And that's loose balls, offensive rebounds, and then protecting the paint.
Teddy Dutkin.
Juwan, Eli Brooks had a huge play on Sam Sessoms at the end of the game on his game-tying shot attempt. What does he mean to this team on the defensive side of the ball?
Man, it's huge. He means a lot to this team. He's been one of our best defenders last season. And, last year I was totally surprised that he wasn't on the all-defensive team. And this year he hasn't missed a beat because he's always very detailed. He's a competitor. He gets into a scouting report, and he tried to do everything the right way as being coached. And we had the right person guarding him at the end of the play at the right time. And I knew it. He wanted it. He wanted a man-to-man. He did not want no zone defense. He wanted to guard man-to-man. And it was awesome just to see, a guy like that making a winning play. It was inspiring for all of us to watch from the sideline.
And a quick follow-up.
Oh, sorry.
What's the biggest difference in game planning, creating a defensive game plan for a conference opponent compared to a non-conference opponent?
Well, non-conference opponent, you haven't seen them much because of first to start with, this season is a very interesting year. You're fortunate enough to play 5 games, and I'm speaking of 5 non-conference games because of what we're dealing with as a country during this pandemic times, very challenging times. Non-conference opponents also have where you don't see much film on them. And then they also have a lot of guys who you're not aware of that don't know that you got to get to learn within a 2-day span or within a 1-day span, depending on how it's scheduled. When you face your opponents in conference play, there's some guys that are returning that you're familiar with from last season. Yes, there's some guys that have transferred in that you may not have film on, that you don't know as much as you know as the other guys that are returning. But you have some type of familiarity as far as their style of play. And I recall last year Penn State was a very tough, competitive group that had good shooting from last season, and all they did this year is added more shooting. And they're still very tough and competitive. They are still, one of the better teams in the Big Ten, and it was a very, good game for us, and also it was a good win. But now that we have 12 days, we can get away from one day of basketball. We don't have to think about basketball, and just, guys that can, need to get back into their books and study for the exams. They can spend some time doing that, but I don't want anyone coming to the gym tomorrow.